Welcome once again to the Allon Exchange, retirement planning solutions for you. With Jay and Brittany Hagee, they are the founders and financial advisors of Allon Planning Partners. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Jay and Brittany, it's always great to see you.
Always great to be here.
I will ask, what's on your mind this week? What do you want to talk about?
This week, worry is the word. That's the word we're hearing over and over and over from folks we're sitting down with. I'm worried about Social Security. I'm worried about my income. I'm worried about outliving. I'm worried about how I'm passing on to my kids. I'm worried about the economy. I'm worried about inflation. I could go on and on and on. So many worries. So let's just hit this head on, because it's something we're finding it impacts folks far beyond their finances. It's impacting their mental health and their well-being, their life experience, because of the heaviness and the weight of finances. And we want to get that out in the open. Let's talk it through so we can break out of that.
And I think some of the anxiety is of the unknown. We don't know the changes that are going to happen. We don't know when the markets go up and down. And I'll tell you the truth, the media doesn't always help. That's why I appreciate your program, because you give advice and actual action steps about what to do. Sometimes it's literally turn off that news or noise. All of that argument, unless somebody's giving you advice about what to do. So let's start with that. I agree that the stress, the anxiety of our finances, it's not good for our mental health. So talking about it, sharing this with our partner, talking with a third party in your best interest.
And absolutely, I think you hit something very important there when you said we fear and we don't, the unknown, and we have anxiety around what we don't know that's coming. And there are certainly uncertain things out there in front of us where we can't see. But we have designed a process to help get ahead of some of the unknowns in folks' life, to make sure that you have all 5 components of financial planning working in your life, whether it's investment management or income planning or tax planning or estate planning, healthcare planning. We can get ahead of some of these issues that people are having anxiety about. And it will cause a sense of peace when you have a plan which pretty much works as an anchor in a storm that we're dealing with, a lot of these turmoils and troubles that we're seeing in the world.
Sure, and money is the most cited factor when folks are asked, what are you bothered about? What are you worrying about? The number one thing is money, over work, over family, over relationships. Money's at the top of that list. And I think it really is universal, because there are 2 sides of this coin, to where folks are worried because they haven't prepared, or they aren't ready for their financial future, or even the next step, whether it's retirement or purchasing a home or paying down debt, whatever it is, they haven't planned. Or on the flip side, those folks who have planned, but their fear is spending. Their fear is spending down the assets that they've saved their whole life to accumulate. And what we have found is that no matter what side of the coin you're on, that fear can be so overwhelming and paralyzing, to where you don't move. You don't move. Well, I haven't planned till now. It's too late. No, it's not too late. Or on the flip side, I can't withdraw because there's this fear of lack, and I'm never going to have enough. When is enough enough? So you don't have to stay in those places. You can break free from that.
Right. And you shared a bank rate study that showed that there are millions of Americans are feeling this anxiety. And let's be honest. The factors are real. Inflation has been high. There's another election coming up, so there's going to be the unknown about that. And people are wondering, what is going to change in their life? What is going to stay the same? And will I be able to live the lifestyle I want? It's hard. Nobody has a crystal ball, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So this plan, the financial plan, a written plan. We've talked about it for almost a couple of years of doing programs together. You've got your radio show, but more importantly, you put together a written plan for folks who come into your office every single day.
We do.
Does that help with the anxiety? Do you see that helping?
It absolutely does. And what we want to do is take away that number one fear, because that bank rate study you said, people have a anxiety and worry over money more than their work and their job, more than their family relationships, more than their own health, than current events. It was ranked number 1 as what people have the most anxiety about. So if we can put together a plan, which we have for many, many families, that helps take that anxiety off the table, or at least lessen it to the point to where I don't have to worry about it because I do have a written, comprehensive plan. And that's what you need. You don't just need an investment vehicle. You don't just need I put away a few dollars in savings or in my 401k, or I'm making sure I put away. You need a written, comprehensive financial plan that includes a lot of things that just an investment vehicle will not include. That includes tax planning and estate planning and healthcare planning. So that way you can put your mind at ease and put those anxieties away, and you can have peace.
And what we're saying, it's not a haphazard approach to financial planning, to your financial situation. It's not this shotgun approach. Let's try this or deal with this when it arises, right? If that happens, then I'll deal with it then. That's reactive versus proactive. We want to encourage folks to be proactive. And a way you can do that, here's your action step number 1. You've got that phone number at the bottom of the screen, 866-691-7317. You could also scan the QR code you see there as well and schedule a complimentary consultation. You've got nothing to lose. There's no pressure, no obligation. It's just us sitting down at a table, learning about your situation, and us offering some creative solutions to help you get to where you want to be. When you schedule that appointment, you'll also receive a copy of our book, The Allon Approach. Again, 866-691-7317.
And another part of the information that comes out from these studies are people are feeling really alone. And I think part of your message is that you're not alone in your worries and concerns.
That's
There's lots of, so many people who come into your offices are feeling the same way. One of the things that you have done in reaction to that was you both compiled and wrote this book together,
We did.
The Allon Approach. So not only can you come in for a meeting, not only can you come in for an appointment, probably a couple of appointments before we decide if there's anything we can do to help you. But you at least get to walk away with a complimentary copy of the book, right, Jay?
Absolutely. And when you walk away with this, it's going to give you a guide that's going to show you a few things. It's going to show you our approach to financial planning and why these areas that we work on are going to bring peace to your life. And like Spike said, to show you that you're not alone. This is not uncommon to feel these things, right? It's not uncommon to feel the anxiety and the stress, but you can do something about it. And I thought it was very important earlier. Brittany said there's 2 types of folks that worry. One who haven't saved, haven't planned, they have anxiety because they haven't gotten the free copy of this book and found a way through it. That is the first people that I want to speak to. The second group of people are the people who have planned, but they're still so scared to spend the money. And we have a unique perspective because we're able to meet with a lot of people across a lot of demographics and stages of life. And we met with someone just last week in their 80s, and they had a little bit of regret because how much money they've amassed and they didn't get to spend it the way they wish they would have spent it while they were living. And now it's like, well, I have all this cash, but what good is it if I can't utilize it to fulfill the purposes and the plans and the dreams that I have because I'm so afraid because I didn't have a plan to know I'm not going to run out of this money.
And with them, they just realized it a little too late. And that's, again, this is proactive. We want to help you realize that before it's too late for you to actually enjoy and know, hey, there is some financial stability here because we've planned, we've done what we can do, we've accounted and been responsible for what we have. So we can enjoy it. We can use what we've got.
I want to keep this ball rolling. We've got a very important message right here. When we come back, I want to ask you, who do you think feels more anxiety about the finances, men or women? We've got the answers to that in the study. Folks, call the phone number you see down on the bottom of the screen. Come on in, meet with Jay and Brittany. Just for coming in, we'll give you a complimentary copy of the book, but more importantly, we will get you started on your own written financial plan for retirement. More with Jay and Brittany right after this.
You have to have a plan. You know, from what I found, we call it the sleep well at night plan, the SWAN plan.
Yeah, a comprehensive plan is extremely important for individuals, families, couples, anyone who is working with their finances. You've got to have more than just an investment.
If we have a plan and know that we can follow step by step a plan that's going to get us to our ultimate goal, we can have trust in that plan to anchor us in those tumultuous times.
And so we're able to really show them, hey, there's all these other things that really come into play.
So it's real important for us to really create those unique plans for people. And it's not just like, well, my neighbor's doing this, so I'm okay.
You got to think about your taxes. You got to think about your health care. You know, you got to think about a number of things that really impact the whole of your financial situation, especially for couples. And we talk about this a lot, that at minimum, both spouses should at least be informed.
Ultimately, we want everyone to not just, be wandering through life and hope that they make it to the goals that they have. We want to put a written step-by-step plan together so that you actually know how to get to those financial goals. Because if you don't have a plan in place to get you through some of those times and you don't have financial security, that's something else that is added to that stress level that can push you overboard.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. I am your host, Spike Spangle. Today we're talking about the financial anxieties that so many Americans are experiencing today. We just want you to know you're not alone, but you do have a resource. You can always call the program here, schedule an appointment, come on in. But let's share some of that with folks. There are specific anxieties, but you sit down with, let's start with couples, a lot. Who feels more of the anxiety, do you think, men or women?
Yeah, I can definitely acknowledge it's the women who feel more of the anxiety and the fear and the worry when it comes to their finances. And whether that doesn't necessarily correlate to if they're married or single, just across the board, it definitely weighs more on us as women. And I think that's due to a number of factors. A few contributing factors would be things like caregiving. You know, think about your children or, even a spouse or someone that really needs some extra care, or if there's some disability within the family or something like that. Typically, not all the time, but typically it is us as women that steps into that caregiving role, which in turn really impacts our income as well as our savings for retirement. So there are kind of a domino effect that occurs when that happens, but also lower income across the board. There's a disparity there between the income that men versus women make.
And with the lower income, that means less put into Social Security.
Right.
That means a reliance maybe on the spouse or partner to be able to use theirs. Or woman going into retirement on her own, hasn't been married, means a lesser amount in Social Security. And we've talked about it several times, women obviously live longer. much longer. So we actually need more money. Is this part of the anxiety, the longevity?
It is. It definitely is, because even when you're talking about the married couples, the women are coming in and I know that I really believe that there's a high probability I will outlive my spouse. Then what? Right? And that is when planning really comes into play in huge ways. When couples come together and actually craft a plan that accounts for a scenario like that, where if one predeceases the other, what happens? How's that impact their income? How's that impact their household and their expenses? And accounting for that to ensure that one or the other spouse really is cared for in those scenarios.
And it's not just what we see. We got this bank rate survey that we've been reading. In every category, women responded that they carry more stress and mental anxiety on each category, whether it's paying down debt or inflation or rising prices, not having enough in emergency savings, whether it's everyday expenses or the economic factors. A higher percentage of women polled said, I carry the mental stress due to this, where men would say not so much. So everybody carries a certain amount, but women definitely carry more of the mental stress on these factors.
And also think about it, when you're concerned and stressed about those financial things, you are going to not do as good of a job on your work, with your work, if you're, in a career. So, I mean, it kind of creates this vicious cycle to where you're worried about your finances, and so it's impacting your work and what you're able to produce and what you're able to do, which then in turn impacts your money. Same thing with your health. You worry, it impacts your health. That causes more financial strain, and we create these cycles that we have to break. And how do we break it? Through our thinking, through the patterns of thinking, and acknowledging that we can break through that disparity. We don't have to live in fear. We don't have to live in worry. And we plan for what we can plan for. Some things are just out of our control, but let's be wise and plan for what we can.
And let's talk specifically, again, for folks who are at home, maybe you're feeling some of these worries or concerns. You can say yes or no to yourself or your partner, or talk about it while you're sitting on the couch. What are some of the things you're hearing? Afraid of outliving money?
That's
you
the
hear
number one, right?
Covering everyday expenses, inflation. The volatility of the stock markets,
Absolutely.
Do we need to put together a estate plan? Are these the common themes you're hearing?
afraid to spend the money that you have,
Really?
because that fear goes back to running out of money. And it's like, I've set aside money for this, but I'm still afraid to spend it because we get in such a pattern of save over 40 years of accumulation, and we forget there's a distribution phase to this, and you need someone to help you down that mountain the same way you climbed up it. And to be as efficient and effective as possible, you have to have some planning involved in this. And there has to be estate planning. There has to be income planning. A lot of times, folks have an investment vehicle and they're like, okay, I've got $1 million, $500,000, whatever it is in my 401k. I can retire now with Social Security and I'll figure out. You have to have an income plan to get to these things. And a lot of times, that's where people run into crisis modes. They come in and they say, oh, I've got all this money saved up in a tax-deferred account. And I have to explain to them, you realize that not all of that money is yours, that it's still owed to Uncle Sam, a big portion of it.
Yeah.
And how do we untangle this tax deferment that you've had over time effectively with an income plan to make sure you won't run out of money? So you have to do that. That's another chapter that's in this book, income planning. We want to make sure that you get that book in your hands. And the way you do that is you call this number on the screen or scan your QR code right there, get a complimentary review with us or a complimentary portfolio review or just call the number and say, I want to meet with Jay and Brittany on some of these fears that I'm worried about. We're available for that. And when you do, we'll also give you a copy of this guide, this book, that way you know what steps you can take and what solutions there are that these anxieties don't have to control your life.
Yeah, and I think we're going to talk through some solutions coming up in the next segment. But before we kind of wrap this up, let's look really quickly at, there's two different types of fears that we really can have. One are a group of really valid fears.
Yes.
Fears that are like, am I invested properly? That's a really good question. How will higher inflation impact me in my savings and my plan for retirement? Will I outlive my income? Those are all valid questions.
Sure.
But here's the thing about those fears. Those fears can be addressed. We can acknowledge, okay, maybe we should make some adjustments here or in your investment strategy, or maybe some changes are warranted or not, right? We can talk through those and dispel that fear. On the other side, so many folks spend so much of their time and energy worrying and stressing and wringing their hands over things that they can't control, like market volatility or inflation rates.
That'll
things
drive you
that
mad.
You'll just go crazy.
It'll drive you mad.
You gotta let some things go. You do what you can do, and you just gotta entrust the rest to the Lord, because you gotta let some of that go. So two different kinds of fears to acknowledge.
I do want to talk about some solutions when we get back.
Yes, we
but
do.
yeah, you can control only what you can control. But I think that's where some of that anxiety is, the unknown. So why don't you take control of factors like, what does your investment strategy look like? What could your tax bracket be in the future? How exactly are you positioned for a tax-free income stream? Do you have your health care choices all taken care of? These are the unknowns that you can check off and work with a financial advisory team who can help you put that together.
Make them known, yep.
Call the phone number you see on the bottom of the screen. Schedule your appointment. At the very least, you will get a complimentary copy of their brand new book, The Allon Approach. But come on in for an appointment. More with Jay and Brittany right after this.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee, founders and financial advisors of Allon Planning Partners. Every single week we talk about retirement planning solutions, and today hopefully we're sharing and dispelling some of the fears, anxieties that we all have out there about the finances today, the ups and downs of the market. I would like to talk about some solutions. We say put together the financial plan, but what are some of the things that we will address inside having a financial plan? It's not just about the investments, is it?
Oh, no. And Brittany said the word of the day is worry and anxiety. If that's the word of the day, I want to say the prescription of the day is planning. And so we're going to give you a formula that is unique to you. It's not just a drug we pass out to everyone that's the same, but we are going to take you through a process that is tried and true. It starts with investment management. We have to make sure you're allocated correctly and that you have the right positions in your portfolio. We have to make sure that you have proper allocation, meaning you're not taking more risk than you know what to do with. That's why you feel out of control and there's a lot of anxiety, because you may be taking too much risk in your portfolio right now, especially if you are close to retirement. Then we're going to look at income planning. How can we make sure that we're not going to run out of money? We derive an income from those assets that you've accumulated over time to make sure you have a proper distribution strategy. Very, very simple, but very important. Then we also look at a tax efficient plan. So we want to make sure that we all have to pay taxes. The two things we do in life, you pay taxes and you die. It's guaranteed, right? So if we're going to pay taxes though, how do we minimize those taxes and make sure that we're only giving Uncle Sam his fair share? Then we have to have an estate plan. We have to make sure how your assets are going to be positioned and how they're going to get to the loved ones that you love after you are deceased or you're disabled. And then you have to have a healthcare plan, because all of these other pieces can be perfect. You could have a great asset allocation. You could have awesome income planning, but you have one healthcare crisis that could wipe out everything that you have. We want to make sure we have proper planning there. If you come in for a complimentary consultation, you will receive a guide, not only a written financial plan from us that is a personalized prescription for your situation, but also a guide to say, have I hit every area of financial planning? This is the prescription for that worry and anxiety, is a proper financial plan. And that's what we're offering for those who would call in today and come in for a consultation.
And rest assured, there is always a solution. You come to us with problems. I don't know how to handle this. This has become the mantra of our household. There's always a solution. Our kids come with the problem.
Yes.
Let's be problem solvers. There is always a solution. We do that with our clients every day. And so know that. It's not hopeless. It's not, well, there's no way out. There's no way towards what I want to do or who I want to be or enjoy or become. There is a way forward. There is always a solution. And we're here to help you find that.
A part of a solution, I believe, is taking control, making sure that you've got your I's dotted, your T's crossed, and so forth. So sometimes it's little things like looking at beneficiary designations, making sure that you have those legal tools in place, like a trust, but funding them properly.
That's right.
I think it's getting some of that unknown out of our head, and maybe it's just sitting down with a professional and say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about the tax planning? Have you thought about the healthcare planning? It's making those decisions and focusing on what you can control.
Now
and
it doesn't seem like a lot of fun all the time. You know? It's like, man, I've got to go through this checklist and this big list. It's not daunting when you have someone who knows how to help you through the process. We work as personal trainers in this industry, right? And so, could you go to the gym and try to figure it out yourself? Sure. But we utilize tried and true strategies that are going to get you there quicker, going to get you there more efficiently and more effectively. So it doesn't sound like fun, but I promise you it's a prescription that will give you peace over time if you do have anxiety.
There was something that I read recently. I want to ask you both as financial advisors. An independent Schwab study had said, now Schwab, a lot of folks who work with someplace like Schwab like to invest on their own. And they said in this study that working with a financial professional could possibly increase your returns by as much as 3% in a year, which could 3 times your life savings.
Your net worth.
Now, you're both financial professionals, but what is this study trying to tell us? That we need that financial that coach in the gym?
It's trying to tell us we all have blind spots. Right? It's trying to say, me, you, everyone out here, we have blind spots. And if we're willing to say, hey, I want to entrust a independent fiduciary advisor, someone who is bound to work on my behalf and is not working for a big box retail firm or a mutual fund company, but they're working for me. If I have someone in my corner, they're going to tell me about my blind spots that I have. And Schwab has shown 2.7 to 3 times your net worth can be gained just by letting someone come along and guide you. And that's what we've set up for our clients. That's why we love doing what we do, is because we see the value that we're adding to families' lives and the anxiety that is coming off of them when we find the solution like Brittany talked about, because every problem has a solution.
Right.
Let's find it together.
And a big part of that is education. Just coming to be more educated and understanding some of these topics that we do workshops on Social Security. We do workshops on taxes and how to minimize your taxes in retirement and as you're planning for retirement. So some of these big, heavy, daunting topics that you're really stumbling around trying to figure out how to manage your way through, we have resources to help guide you through those things, to help educate you and offer you information so that you don't have to stumble through and figure it out on your own.
Brittany, I'm going to put you on the hot seat as well. I know that you've been getting a lot of calls as well to do your Women and Investing series again. The individual women's seminar.
It's coming. It is coming this spring. We're doing it again this spring. So be on the lookout through our website. We're going to be announcing a few dates specifically for you women to help empower you to know how to manage and make the most of what you have. Not just single women either, because I meet with a lot of married women who do manage their household finances. So any woman, married, widowed, divorced, single, any of it, this is specifically designed for you. So more to come on that.
And I think as one more solution, you've also said, celebrate those milestones, big and small.
You have to.
It's like, look, there's a lot to worry about, but paid off credit card in full, got it done, getting close to being done with the mortgage, maybe paid off one of the cards. Celebrate
My spending plan is working for me. It can be as small as I am not spending as much.
I didn't overspend
this week.
month.
I'm saving a % more, than I was last month. I mean, we have to celebrate those small milestones because they will put us further ahead with our mental state.
It builds momentum.
It builds momentum because if there's anxiety and stress, as we're getting to these solutions, we need to know that there's little milestones along the way that are going to help us get to those big ones,
That's right?
And so we help people celebrate small so that you can celebrate
big.
It's
like, if you run marathons, I will acknowledge that I am not a marathon runner, but I have plenty of friends who I cheer on because they're exceptional and they can do that. But you have these little you have these little breaks along the way. You may not totally stop, but you're going to get a drink. You're going to refresh yourself. Okay, I can do this. And you have some momentum builders along the way. That's what you've got to do with your finances as well.
Thank you so much for talking about the anxieties and trying to help people at your office every single day. Folks, are you feeling anxiety about not knowing if you can be and stay retired? Let's check off some of those unknowns. Let's put together an income plan. Let's take a look at your health insurance. Let's take a look at estate planning and your taxes and see what we can help you sleep better at night with. Call the phone number you see right there on the bottom of the screen so you can come on in to the Allon Exchange and Allon Planning Partners. Get your own written financial plan. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next week.